Hello and welcome back to Walk the Cinema podcast. Today's episode is a horror movie classic, Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. So Alfred Hitchcock, he directed this.
Yeah, he's a visionary.
Yeah, it's very...
And you can tell it hits his movies just by the way it's shot. And the lighting in it is so good. Mm-hmm. It makes it look so beautiful.
Psycho is definitely a very striking movie in terms of how it looks and just how iconic the story has become.
Yeah, and there's shots that are super iconic, like her driving, the fixed camera outside of the car. Like, I don't even know if it's outside of the car. It might be just mounted in front of the car.
Yeah.
And they took the glass out, but that's like a really iconic shot in itself. Then you got the shower scene shot, and the ending shot. Just like those as like individual screenshots are iconic in itself. They don't even need to move.
Yeah.
But then the score really helps. The score is a huge part of this.
Yeah, it definitely builds the suspense, because something that I always thought was kind of striking about this movie, and I thought about it more because I knew we were going to do an episode on it, so I was trying to think more critically about it and stuff. Like, if you were watching this when this came out, like, your mind would have been blown.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, when this came out, this had a lot of publicity around it. Mm-hmm. We watched an extra on the Blu-ray that showed how the movie came out. Mm-hmm. And how it was like huge lines in the street waiting for the next viewing, and no one was allowed in.
Yeah, after it started. Because it was like, don't spoil the ending.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to let you come in late.
And like the new screening started as soon as the other ended. Like, it was a big stunt, and the movie was a hit.
It paid off for
sure.
Got
a handful of Oscar nominations. I don't think it won anything.
I don't think so. But it definitely... It starts off kind of like a noir film.
It is a film noir. And you have an actress that is known for her film noir.
Yeah.
She was in Hands of Evil, which was her biggest movie up until then. And that's a noir. So I think a lot of people that went and watched it and saw her and the way the story was progressing thought this was just going to be a very good film noir. Mm-hmm. But then it like changes up on you.
Yeah, it changes up like halfway through, and you know, I can imagine that probably felt like how I felt when I watched Parasite, you know? Mm-hmm.
It doesn't just change up the genre either, it changes up who the main character is.
Yeah. Because at first we're following Marion, or Janet Leigh's character, and she was a big name at the time.
Yeah, she was in westerns and noirs, and Hands of Evil is her biggest movie, I would assume. Mm-hmm. The Naked Spur is probably her biggest western.
Yeah, but so you have like the storyline where it's like this woman that steals money from her boss, or steals money from the client of her boss, and she's running away from the law pretty much. And you kind of just assume that that's just how this movie is going to play. Like, she's going to try to find her boyfriend and connect with him. Noir. You know,
it's 100% played out like a film noir. There's no doubt, everything about it. Even like how she changes from white underwear to black underwear after she steals the money. Mm-hmm. They're changing into this darker character would really fit into a regular film noir.
Yeah. So you have that kind of going for it. And then when we meet Norman, that's kind of where the shift changes.
Yeah, we think he's a side character.
Yeah.
But he's not.
He becomes
the main character because, shower scene, it's the thumbnail on YouTube. Mm-hmm. That's, that was super iconic. And that was a ballsy move by Hitchcock.
Yeah.
To kill off the main character halfway through. Yeah. Especially, probably the biggest name in the movie. I think she was the biggest name at the time. Now it might be Anthony Perkins.
Possibly. But Anthony Perkins does an amazing job,
He does.
He really makes the character. And I feel like there are probably people out there that have done episodes or made videos about just his character.
Sure.
And the effort, I guess, Anthony Perkins like took to make him who he is.
And this character was super relevant. Like you can see the influence in it, and like M. Night Shyamalan's Split, or it's just it's an influential character.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I first watched this movie a couple years ago, and I mean, I already knew the plot line just from...
Sure, I mean, everyone knows.
Yeah.
Even if you don't watch it, I mean,
so, but
you know.
I was trying to think of like, okay, if I never knew how this story was going to play out, like the unraveling of you know, the main character dying, and you're like, oh god, what's going to happen next? And then finding out that you think Norman's mother killed her, and Norman was just hiding the evidence. And then you kind of find out, like, through this and that like she's supposed to be dead, and you're like, well, is she dead or is she alive and she faked her death? Like, what's going on? Until you find out at the end that it was Norman that was kind of had split his mind into mother and
Hitchcock
woman.
Drops hints of everything throughout, but it never tells you what happens until you see it.
Yeah.
But, you know, he drops the taxidermy hints because he, you know, preserves his mom's body as best as he can. He believes that she's alive.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, he does, like, I think, believe that she's... Well, it's kind of weird because if he interacts with other people in the town without setting alarms off, you know.
But then the ending, we see him just sitting there thinking in his own head in his mother's voice. Yeah. So he's thinking as his mother. Yeah. And that took over him, like took over his personality. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a very layered movie that you don't forget.
Yeah, and I really enjoy Marion's sister and her boyfriend, Sam and Lila. Yes. And their kind of relationship that they start to build, I guess, in trying to find Marion's, like, where she is, because they don't assume that she died. No. Until, you know, they figure out that...
Until they almost get killed themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they just assumed that she got in too deep. She was trying to run away, you know. Mm-hmm. They never thought that there was anything that could have happened that was bad to her.
They kind of are the audience in the beginning thinking it's just a film noir. Yeah. So they think she's just in trouble because someone stole money and then went to a motel. Or the chances that there's a serial killer there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's a serial killer. He's a killer, though.
Yeah, and he killed before her, too.
Yeah. He kills women that he is attracted to because his mom takes over. Like, the mom side of his brain. And he doesn't want another woman to take his son. Yeah. So, he's killed before. But a serial killer kills for, like, pleasure.
Yeah.
Or for, like, whatever reason that's satisfactory to them.
Yeah, but he still has, you know...
He has mental issues. Nowadays, you have a huge argument about prison or an asylum.
Yeah, which I think he does end up going to an asylum, I think, in the sequels. Because this did have 4 sequels that came out.
They have 3 sequels.
Or, yeah, 3 sequels. Sorry,
I don't think people realize that. Yeah. Or a lot of people choose to ignore it because... You know, Psycho is held in such a high regard.
Yeah, I think it's kind of valid because, I mean, I like how Psycho ends, you know, like it's leaves you just enough.
He 100% does not need sequels.
But they made a sequel like 22 years after.
Yeah, and Anthony Perkins even directed one of the sequels himself.
Yeah, and just for fun fact, like, I always thought in the Psycho movie, like the first one, that Lila and Sam had like a really good chemistry. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was brought on by their mutual trying to find Marion, but I just kind of thought that they had like a good, like their characters had good chemistry. And then I find out that in the sequel they actually got married and had a kid, so that was kind of fun to know. But I feel like the sequels, I think no matter how good they are, like, they're always going to leave me a little bit disappointed.
Well, they can be good on their own without being good sequels.
Yeah.
They can be good movies individually, but just not a good follow-up to Psycho, because Psycho doesn't need a follow-up.
Yeah. That's kind of my thing, is, like, the story, I think, is done so nicely that adding anything to it is kind of unnecessary.
But it happens a lot. It happens a lot where people love the original and hate the sequel because it's a terrible sequel, but not a terrible movie.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work with the original story. Doesn't mean, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show has a sequel called Shock Treatment. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a pretty good standalone movie, but as a sequel, for the characters, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It just doesn't follow any timeline or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, if you like Psycho, you'll probably at least get some enjoyment out of the sequels.
Yeah.
I think you can't, if you don't have the main character from the first half and the trickery that Hitchcock put throughout it, you just couldn't be as good, period. Mm-hmm. Just from the side that it's not a sequel. Just as a movie, it couldn't be as good because it doesn't have the twist elements that made the first one so memorable.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's very true. I don't think, well, Alfred Hitchcock wasn't involved with the sequels, like, at all.
No, he never did a sequel to anything.
Yeah.
He did remake his own movies, though, from the silent era.
Yeah.
That he remade with sound.
But some of these scenes are just so well done. Like, one of my favorite scenes is when Marion and Norman are having, like, a little dinner in the parlor where he has all of his taxidermy birds, and they're just talking about his mother and how a boy's best friend is his mother and how he should be, he should mind the traps that he's placed in, and he's like, oh, I don't mind it. And
yeah, those are the hints that I think he drops throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Norman has something hidden. More than just killing her. Just, there's something deeper than just murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, in the movie they talk about how his mother was very demanding, or, like, wanted all of her son's time after his father died, which I think is kind of, like, it happens in real life where...
I mean, sure, you don't have anything else to hold on to.
Yeah, so she kind of shifts her focus all onto her son, and then developmentally that's kind of bad for him because, like, at that point all he has is his mom. So when somebody comes around and kind of takes the focus away from him onto somebody else, he gets jealous, he gets mad. Yeah. And he can't comprehend why that's not bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's mommy issues.
Yeah.
We all have mommy issues.
Do we?
I don't know.
I don't
Maybe
know
we
about
do.
all that.
Maybe they're, like, so deeply engraved in us that we don't realize that we have them. But yeah, the movie, right? I don't want to turn into a therapy session here. The score was so good. The shower scene is the biggest example of it, right? He created that iconic sound. Mm-hmm. But that scene was supposed to be silent. Like, that's what Hitchcock told everyone. But the composer decided he was going to make a score for it, just in case. And Hitchcock listened to it and was like, damn, I'm going to use that, because that's so good. And it is. Yeah,
it really like, culminates, I guess. Because it builds the tension, and then finally when she is being stabbed, it's kind of like, it makes you kind of feel a little bit scared and, like, confused.
The notes kind of reflect the stabbing because they're so sharp.
Yeah. And
they're fast and sharp, kind of like being stabbed. So it did an amazing job, especially that scene, but throughout. I mean, everything technically in this is perfect. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything technically that could be changed even now with technology, the best you could do is maybe change how the car scenes look.
Yeah, but even then...
Yeah, even then you're not going to make a better movie because of that, so...
No, it's, like, beautifully done. Truly. It's such a beautiful movie. And...
I don't think I've ever seen anyone hate on this one.
I don't know. There's probably somebody out there that thinks it is overrated.
No, sure. I mean, sure. You don't gotta like it.
No. But, I don't know. I really like Psycho. And I think that it's not my favorite Hitchcock movie.
What's your favorite Hitchcock movie?
It's gonna sound lame. It's The Lady Vanishes.
Why is that lame? It's a great movie.
I don't know. It just seems like to have your favorite Hitchcock movie, it's like one of his ones that isn't a classic, like horror.
It is a classic movie, though. Lady Vanishes is a classic movie.
Yeah, it's a classic movie, but it's not like, I think, like some of his bigger stuff, like Psycho. You think of Psycho or North by Northwest or The Birds, you know?
Vertigo.
Yeah, Vertigo.
Sure, but I would put Lady Vanishes, Psycho, and Rope as my top 3 for Hitchcock.
That's valid.
And, I don't know, Rope is not super highly regarded.
That's true. He does make really good movies, and he did this in terms of, like, since we're talking about this in the scope of, like, how it changed horror movies, like, it definitely, you know, it had that kind of slow build, because the first half is not a horror movie at all. You're just kind of feeling tense.
Just even singular elements, like I said, the Norman Bates influencing Split or Scream. That's a big horror movie from the 90s. Yeah. Scream 5's coming out in January, so this is topical. They killed Drew Barrymore in the start.
Yeah, and she was like the biggest name in that. Yeah,
she was the biggest name. She was the cover art. She was the poster for the movie, and they kill her in the beginning.
Yeah, like the first 15 minutes.
That would never have happened if Hitchcock didn't kill his main character in Psycho. Yeah. That's I'm making it up.
Yeah.
Just something I feel. You wouldn't kill the biggest name, main character, poster figure in your movie if Hitchcock hadn't done it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Jamie Lee Curtis, not Jamie Lee Curtis, but I am going to get to that. Janet Leigh was, like, considered one of the first Scream queens, you know?
Yeah.
Because of this movie, I think. And her daughter went on to Jamie Lee Curtis.
She's the Scream queen right now.
Yeah.
She's still doing Halloween sequels.
Yeah, she was the Halloween face.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And, you know, those movies are still going strong. I think
Halloween
they're out
Kills
now.
just came out. It's in theaters when this episode comes out.
So it kind of did, like, make a legacy of like, characters...
Yeah.
That are, like, known for this particular horror film.
Yeah, because both Anthony Perkins and Lee got typecasted after this. They were, you know, known for Psycho and pretty much nothing else in the big eye. And, like, the bigger perspective.
Yeah.
But she did make movies before and after. And I think she made really good movies. But Psycho is the movie you're going to remember her for. Yeah.
And just recently, like, her daughter dressed up as her character from this for the Halloween Kills premiere. So yeah. I thought that was kind of cool and neat. And it's her mom, so, you know, it's kind of fun to see that they're both kind of in classic horror movies, you know?
They both are in the biggest horror movies. Like, you couldn't get much bigger than Halloween or Psycho.
Yeah.
I mean, there's movies on that level, but there's no level above it. That's the highest you can get.
Yeah. But yeah, so what do you give Psycho?
I mean, it's such a special movie. But I don't know. I didn't give it a 10. I gave it a 9. Even though I said nothing negative about it. Go figure, I guess. I don't know. I was tentative, but it's just... I guess a 10 has to hit the right spots at all times. Sometimes it just loses steam for a scene or two, and you just can't think of it as fondly. But it's an amazing movie in every aspect. I wouldn't touch it. It's perfect as it is.
Yeah, and I see it does kind of hit those points for me, so I give it a 10 out of 10 because I think that when I first watched it, even though I knew the storyline already. Because, you know, it's
kind of like with 12 Angry Men, right?
Yeah.
You go into, we said this in the episode, you go into 12 Angry Men, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it happens is even better than you could imagine.
Yeah. So, like, when I watched it, I was like, oh, wow, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything's so good. Like, Norman's character is so, like, he's like shy, and he's unassuming that first time that we see him. And I just kind of noticed this while I was watching it recently, that, like, his character kind of, like, his personality kind of changes to the different people that he talks to, because when the detective comes, he's a little bit more, I don't know, like, confident in the way that he approaches him and stuff.
I think he's more intimidated by females.
That's true. And then when he has the married couple, well, the pretend married couple with Sam and Leela, like, they come up, and he's kind of, I mean, he's, at this point, he's kind of over everything, because there's been so many people that have...
You know something is happening.
Yeah.
He knows that, like, they're looking for her, probably, because at least he's thinking about it, because, you know, so many people in the last couple of days can't be, or last week, let's say it's a week and a day or something, so it can't be a coincidence.
Yeah, so at that point, he's just kind of over it. He's gone as the kind of meek, timid type of character, I feel. So it's just kind of interesting.
There's a lot of levels to this, and even though I didn't give it a 10, if I had to pick one movie to watch every day of my life, and I couldn't watch any other movie, it'd probably be Psycho.
Wow.
I think it would be the one that
would keep you entertained.
Tolerate the most. Yeah. It's so, it switches genres, it switches main character, it's layered, there's twists everywhere, the ending's great, so...
Yeah, the ending where his mom turns around, it's like a skull and...
No, I mean the actual ending.
Oh, you mean like the...
The police station. But that too.
That one was always like...
Yeah, that's a creepy... Like, I don't know if it's a jump scare.
It feels like a jump scare, and then Norman comes out dressed as his mother.
Yeah, I mean, that seems kind of hilarious, even though it shouldn't be. I laugh at that scene every time, because he looks so foolish. He put on a wig and everything. Mm-hmm. Like, the dress wasn't enough. He had to have the wig.
Yeah, you had to live out the fantasy that she was still alive, that he didn't kill her.
Okay, but if you kill someone and you want to pretend you're them, dressing as them would be enough. They don't put on a wig in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying?
I guess.
Like how it's like, if he's pretending to be his mom, he's pretending to be his mom as he puts on the wig. Mm-hmm. Does his mom put on a wig? Because if she doesn't, then he's acting as himself, trying to pretend to be his mom.
I mean, I guess, but I don't think it's like, I don't know.
No, it's just funny. I mean, I'm thinking about it too much, but it's funny how he looks.
But yeah, I think that's all for this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, all that jazz if you can. And we will be back. We have 2 episodes coming up for October.
Yeah, because it's your birthday.
Yeah,
so next episode is going to be your birthday episode.
Yeah. Stay tuned for Friday, and then we'll have another regular episode, horror movie episode on Monday. But anyway, that's all we have. See ya.